Hello everyone, welcome back. In continuation to my previous video where we have discussed in detail what is a instruction cycle and what are machine cycles, and while executing a instruction how many machine cycles are required for one instruction cycle. So now we will look in detail that each machine cycle or bus cycle, which could be of type memory read, memory write, IO read or IO write, how many T states will be required, or how these bus operations are being done by the microprocessor. So we'll look into bus operation. So first thing I have taken is timing diagram of a read operation. So here I am not telling whether it is a memory read or IO read, but in this single timing diagram, I will explain how your memory read or IO read operation will look like. As it is a read operation, the microprocessor is going to read data from the memory or from the IO device. In general, a machine cycle is made up of 4 T states as shown here. May not be applicable to each case, but in general, a machine cycle is made up of 4 T states. We know that the different types of signal involved in a bus cycle operations are: we require the address and data bus, which is AD0 to AD15, A16/S3 to A19/S6, then M/IO bar, ALE, BHE bar, DT/R bar, read bar and DEN bar. As it is a read operation, I have not shown write signal in this diagram. And to read the data from memory or IO device, the microprocessor is going to first generate the address. So first thing generated by the microprocessor is the address from where we are going to read the data. It may be a address of a memory or a IO device. So we know that to demultiplex the address bus from the data and status bus, we are going to require ALE. So in the first T state, ALE will be made active or will be made available so that the address is being demultiplexed and available on the address bus. Few other signals which also get activated in the first T states are M/IO bar. So here, if at all I am going for memory read operation, then as I know M/IO bar goes high for a memory read operation, the signal should move from 0 to 1. This is also done in the first T state. As indicated here, if at all I am going for IO read operation, then instead of getting this signal, my M/IO bar should go low. That means initially it is high and it should go low for IO read operation. So you can understand, if I have a memory read operation, I will get only the upper line. If I have a IO read operation, I will get the lower line. Along with these signals, DT/R bar is also going to get activated in the first T state or during the T1 state. You know that the operation of DT/R bar is data transmit or receive. It indicates the direction of data flow. So as for read operation, the microprocessor is going to receive the signal. This signal goes low. DT/R bar goes low in the first T state. So in the first T state, the address is generated with the help of ALE, and then M/IO bar, this is one of the control signal, will get activated, and DT/R bar will get activated. Now during the second T state, the control signals will be generated. Although M/IO is generated in the first T state, we need to generate few more control signals to complete the type of bus cycle like memory read, memory write, IO write. So first of all, we have explained whether it is going to be memory operation or IO operation. Next signal which we are going to activate in the second T state, as address is available on the address bus, once address is generated, it should be latched till the microprocessor generates the next address. So ALE will go low in the second T state. As soon as ALE goes low, now address bus which is multiplexed with data and status signal will be available to carry the status or data signal. So, in the second T state, the status signal will be available on A16 to A19 bus. Along with that, we are going to activate your read signal, the control signal for read operation, which completes our whether we are going for memory read or IO read signal. If you have the upper green line, we are going for memory read operation. If we have the lower green line, we are going for IO read operation. Along with ALE goes low and read signal going low, in the second T state, DEN is made active, which in turn helps in the third T state, the data will be available on the data bus. So, the third T state is basically for data transfer, and data will be available on AD0 to AD15 bus, and T4 state is the wind up state. All the signals will be deactivated or will go back to its initial condition. So, this is the timing diagram for a memory read or IO read operation. So, if at all we have 4 T states, if I go back to my previous slide, this particular instruction move AX comma within square bracket 1200H requires 3 machine cycles, and all these machine cycles are of type memory read. Let us assume one memory read requires 4 T states, and this particular instruction requires 3 memory read operation. So in turn, one instruction cycle will require 3 into 4, 12 T states. Let us assume I have a 5 megahertz clock. So one T state will be of duration 200 nanoseconds. So for this particular instruction to get executed, we need 12 into 200 nanoseconds, which is 2400 nanoseconds. So move AX comma within square bracket 1200H will get executed in 2400 nanoseconds. So this will be the time required by the processor to execute the instruction move AX comma 1200H. Similarly, in these examples also we can calculate one instruction cycle is how many machine cycles? Let n machine cycle, and each machine cycle, if at all, is of 4 T states, then n into 4 T states into the duration of each T state will give me the time required to execute this particular instruction. So this is the way how we calculate the number of machine cycles will be required for each instruction, and whether the type of bus cycle or machine cycle requires how many T states. So as we discussed, in this case, one memory read operation requires 4 T states, but this may not be the case always. So let us take a instant where for memory read or IO read, your memory or IO device is a slower or faster than the microprocessor which we are using. So in most of the cases, we are going to deal with the slower devices. IO device or the memory which is going to give us data may be a slower device. So even if my microprocessor has made a ALE high, generated the address, generated M slash IO signal, DT slash R bar, and in the second T state, it has generated the status signal, the control signals, and ready to receive the data. But if the IO device or memory is a slower device, it will not be ready to place the data on the data bus. So in that case, we need to insert what is called as wait state. So two things are coming up here. One is ready signal and the other one is wait state. So if at all my memory or IO device are slower device, then the processor is going to check memory or IO device is ready for data transfer or not. So before T3 state, every time the processor will check for the ready signal. So whenever your memory/IO device is ready for data transfer, it will send a ready signal to the microprocessor. Once the ready signal is being received, the microprocessor will go for T3 state or all the operations related to T3 state. If at all the ready signal is not received or ready is 0, that means your memory or IO device is not ready for data transfer. So the processor will insert a wait state before T3. So ready is the acknowledgement from the slow device or memory that they are ready for the data transfer, and wait signal or wait state are the states introduced by the microprocessor before T3. After one wait state, the processor will again check for the ready signal. If the ready signal is found to be high, the processor will go for T3 states. If not, it will insert another wait state. So, my memory read operation could have only 4 T states where my memory or IO device is operating at the same speed as that of your microprocessor. If it is a slower device, then the processor will insert a wait state. Now, number of wait states depend on the difference in the speed of your IO device and the microprocessor. So, one read operation may have one or multiple wait states. So, it is illustrated here. After T2 state, the processor will check for the ready signal. If the ready signal is high, the processor will go for T3 state or data will be available. If the ready signal is low, the processor will insert a wait state. Now, we can have a one wait state or multiple wait states. Coming to the write operation, it is quite similar to that of the memory read or IO read bus cycle. Like in this case also, during the first T state, your ALE will be made high or will be active, and AD0 to AD15 and A16/S3 to A19/S6 will carry the address, and memory/IO signal will be generated, and along with your M/IO, the other signal which will get activated in the first T state will be your DT/R bar. So DT/R bar, as it indicates whether the processor is transmitting or receiving. This being your memory write or IO write operation, the processor is going to send the data, so it will be in your transmit mode. So DT/R bar should go high. In the second T state, first the status signal will be generated as explained during the read operation. Then W/R bar write operation will get activated, and as it is active low signal, it will go low. Your ALE will be deactivated to latch the address. Also, at the end of the second T state, data will be available by the processor, and DEN bar or data enable signal will be made low. So, the basic difference between your read and write operation is the data is going to get available at the second T state itself. As in this case, the processor is going to send the data. We are not having any wait state involved in write operation. So, third T state will be for your data. Data will be made available on T3 state, and T4 as usual will be your winding up state. So, we have seen the complete timing diagram of a memory read, IO read, or memory write, IO write operation. Read operation can have 4 or more T states depending on the speed of the memory or IO device, and write operation are going to have 4 T states. The major difference between read and write operation are the data will be available in the second T state itself for a write operation. So if I go back to my previous example, where you can see that add 1, 2, 3, 4 within square bracket h comma bx involves 4 machine cycles. Out of these 4 machine cycles, 3 machine cycles are going to be of memory read and the last machine cycle will be of memory write time. Let us assume in this case, for a chance, I am saying that one memory read operation requires 6 T states. That means we have two wait states involved, and one memory write operation MEMW involves as usual 4 T states. Processor is of 5 megahertz processor, so 1 T state will be of duration 200 nanosecond. How much time will be required by the processor to execute? Add 1, 2, 3, 4 within square bracket comma bx. So for this given condition, we know that it requires 4 machine cycle, out of which 3 are memory read type. Each memory read is of 60 states plus 1 memory write, and it have 4 T states. So put together we require 22 T states, and each T state is of 200 nanosecond. So this instruction cycle will require 22 into 200 nanoseconds, which is 4400 nanosecond to execute the instruction add 1234h within square bracket comma bx. Hope these examples are clear and easy for you to understand, and you will be able to generate how many machine cycles will be involved for one instruction cycle, what is the type of each machine cycle, and how many T states are involved for each machine cycle. Depending on that, we can calculate at the end how many T states are required for one particular instruction to get executed and what is the time required. Thank you for watching.